Robert Morris basketball coach Andy Toole, a friend of the show, his 16th year at RMU. Andy, how are you?
I'm doing well, guys. How are you doing?
We're doing good. We were just reminiscing about last year's crazy game with Alabama and also about your run to the tournament. How are you feeling about this year's team? You've won 5 of 7 here. It looks like you're heating up at the right time.
We're starting to play better and a little more consistent. You know, obviously, we're still on a day-to-day basis here in terms of our execution. And, you know, we let some games get away early in the conference year by not being as focused on the task at hand as we need to be. And, you know, some possessions early in games kind of came back to cost us later on. And, you know, I think we've made some growth and some strides in that direction. But each one of our games so far in the Horizon League has been, you know, so tightly contested. You know, we played probably out of the 15 games we probably played, you know, close to 10 one-possession or two-possession games. So there's still a lot of work to be done, but we're trending in the right direction. But I say that with some cautious optimism.
When you come down to those one-possession games, Andy, do you like to try to control it as a coach more often than not, or do you like to sort of give your players the freedom to kind of do what they do at the ends of games, at least offensively?
Well, I think it's a combination of both. I think there's been times where, you know, we felt like in this situation, maybe the game is tied and there's under 10 seconds left. You know, calling the timeout might not be the play. Maybe it's trying to get a quick push down the floor, see if you can gain advantage and find a great shot without having to allow the defense to get set. Sometimes, depending on your team, you know you want to call that timeout quickly and get them organized because they might not be able to organize themselves quite as well, right? So some of it's year to year, some of it's, opponent to opponent. So it's a combination of both, but obviously, like a lot of coaches across the country, it's stuff we talk about, you know, consistently. We practice consistently. There's things that we know we want to try to do late game, and then you hope that your preparation, you know, carries into that moment and you're able to execute.
I imagine you're immersed in the moment right now, but that game last year, the NCAA tournament game against Alabama, was crazy and entertaining. How do you look back on that one?
Just thankful to be a part of it. I mean, that group of guys and those players that were on that team, you know, sacrificed a lot. They came a long way as they came together as a group during the course of the season. You know, we went on an unbelievable, 6-week run, where we were playing basketball at a super high level, and it kind of culminated with that game in the NCAA tournament. And I was just thankful to be a part of it and look back really fondly on that group of guys and the way that they competed and connected as the year went on.
We've talked about this before, and we're talking to RMU basketball coach Andy Toole. We've talked about this before, Andy, but the challenges for your school, other schools, and your other like schools in your conference, just with NIL, with transfer portal, with things like that. Have you settled into this new reality? How many guys are on your team from last year, for example?
One. But it's not just an RMU problem. It's not just a Horizon League problem.
Right.
You know, Baylor had 0 players last year in April. So it's everywhere. It's from Division III to the highest levels of Power 5 basketball. If you are a Division III player, you're trying to get to Division II or Division I. If you're a Division II player, you're trying to get to Division I. If you're a low major player, you're trying to get to mid major. If you're mid major, you're trying to get to high major. If you get to high major and you stink, you're trying to go back down to the mid major, the low major level, so you can put some stats up. So everybody's dealing with it. It's not unique. You know, I think early on in the transfer portal era, there was a lot of guys trying to move up the ladder. Now it's guys moving everywhere. The supply greatly outweighs the demand, and that's why I think there's got to be some understanding as players go into the portal often as to, am I going to have a landing spot? Now I think with people getting through the COVID year that was had. Some of the eligibility rules that potentially could come out to kind of solidify the length of time you can be in college, some of the supply will shrink. But it's really hard right now if you're a high school player. It's really hard, to break into college basketball and to find your way because, there's just so much movement each and every year. And I think every coach knows, hey, this is just par for the course, right? Our season's going to be over. We're going to lose the vast majority of our team, some for good, some not for as good. And you have to try to navigate it the best you can, and you have to try to have somewhat of a plan as you are trying to, put together your team on a year-to-year basis.
It feels like such a big part of coaching, I would imagine anyway, at the college level, is I'm going to have these guys, most of them, for multiple years, maybe some of them for 4, and be able to sort of mold them over the years and form a team. That's just gone. So how much does that affect your love of coaching, or what you thought you were getting into coaching for?
Well, I mean, I think that there's still the I think this is coaching, and college athletics has now just taken on the persona of society in general, right? Instant gratification, microwave relationships. Does that part stink? Yeah, to some extent. But for example, 2 weeks ago, I'm sitting at my house at 7 o'clock on a Monday night, and I get a FaceTime call from Alvaro Fulgaris, Cam Woods, and Amarion Dickerson because Iowa was getting ready to play USC, and the 3 of those guys FaceTime me, and I think I laughed for 15 minutes straight. So there's still opportunity to create relationship and hopefully impact people. Sometimes it's just in a shorter period of time that you're in each other's presence, but it doesn't mean that you can't have impact on people and you can't help guys continue to grow and become better versions of themselves or try to become a team, right? I think that, we're still trying to promote all the same things we did when we had guys for 3 or 4 or 5 years. We're still trying to emphasize being a great teammate, being able to handle your responsibilities, being able to do your job. That doesn't change because that still helps you win basketball games, and that's still the right way to be able to approach all this. So that stuff doesn't change. Unfortunately, it's just not for as long a period of time because there are some great opportunities for guys to be able to go on and take on that next challenge. But that doesn't necessarily mean you're no longer part of their development and their existence or their life.
Andy, compared to 5-7 years ago, have you found the need to have to simplify some things because you haven't had the stability with the roster where you might not be able to become more complex offensively or defensively, having that consistency?
Yeah, there's no doubt. I think there's 2 things that make it a little bit of make the challenge greater is the simplicity factor, right? A lot of guys come with residue from their last place, right? Whether it's hey, we were a denial team, and now you're trying to get them to break that habit in order to learn the habits of RMU. Sometimes when you got guys as true freshmen, they didn't really have habits in college, and so they were able to learn your system. You were able to, over time, build in more. You didn't have to start completely from scratch each and every year. Now you got to start from scratch each and every year with terminology, with spacing, with style, with system. Now you go through some of that stuff, obviously, in the recruiting process, but that doesn't mean they have a grasp of how to execute it. And I do think you have to emphasize a little bit of basketball IQ and instinct in your recruitment. Like there's a couple guys that we recruited over the last couple of years who just were talented enough, but just not able to grasp the system quick enough in order to really impact the team. And then the other thing I think that's hard now is, you don't have the same scar tissue you used to have. Like when I lose my mind in a practice because we miss a free throw box out because in 2018, we missed a free throw box out at FDU in the conference tournament semifinals. Like that doesn't resonate with these guys. Or when we go to play Youngstown State and we say, man, this is going to be a really intense game because we played them last year in the Horizon League championship game. That doesn't necessarily resonate with these guys. So you got to find some different ways to try to get your point across and get them to understand the important things that really determine winning and losing.
Well, Ryan Prather, the one holdover from a year ago, what has he meant for you guys this year and how has he stepped up?
Yeah, he's been awesome. His growth has been, incredible. He still has another year, so we'll go through the same saga as soon as the season's over of what his status will be as he moves forward. But, he was very intelligent about his process last year. Obviously a huge piece of our team, got a bigger role this year, more opportunity, more minutes, and he's taken full advantage of all of it. And that's a lesson that we're going to try to talk to some other guys about. Hey, in their second year, Ryan increased his, almost has doubled his scoring. His assist-to-turnover ratio is through the roof, where last year he was a guy that we didn't always think made great decisions, right? But the comfort of the system, the understanding of the coaching and the offense and defense has allowed him to do a better job of it. And those are things that I think are all positives for young guys that are trying to develop and figure out how to be good college players.
Andy, do you think that this team might have it in them for a second consecutive magical run here?
I will say this. I think we can beat anybody or lose to anybody.
Yep.
I really do. And I think if you look at the Horizon League scores, and I don't know how many people in Pittsburgh follow Horizon League basketball, but the games this year have been unbelievable. The drama has been high. There's nights that you go look at the 4 or 5 games played on that evening, and the 3 teams that were the underdogs all won the games, and 2 of them might have been on the road, right? I mean, just the outcomes each and every night have, at times made you scratch your head. Obviously, Wright State, Oakland have probably done the best job of being the most consistent so far. But I think we have the ability, if we play together and we execute, to compete with anybody in the league. We also have had nights where we go out and we look like we can't beat anybody. So I think we're growing from these experiences. I think we have a chance as the season goes on if we can continue to stay healthy and play our best basketball. But the focus right now is we got practice in 8 minutes. We got to have a great practice in our prep for Cleveland State tomorrow night, and then we'll figure out what happens from there. Because it's just, again, as we talked about, keeping it simple, keeping the focus as small as we can, kind of taking these guys through this process step by step is really where our mindset's been at.
Well, we'll let you go to practice. I have to touch on one other thing here because you guys, your program was in the news back in mid-January, and I know you can't talk about the case, Andy, involving Marquise Hastings, but just to see that and see the headline, I imagine had a pretty profound impact on you. How did you react when you saw those headlines? Because if true, that would obviously be quite the betrayal of your program.
Yeah, and that's exactly how you feel. That year, as that year went on, we consistently were thinking to ourselves, man, we can't just get these guys to come together and do the things that you need to do to win based on some of the talent we had. And, you get angry. Our program, our university, my staff, the other players in that locker room, they're victims of that. And it's a huge frustration. Obviously, everybody, we talk about respecting the game all the time, and there couldn't be a larger, more disgusting disrespect of the game than not going out and giving your best and trying to influence the outcome. So, again, a lot still to be determined, but certainly, when this is the way that you feed your family and you have people not going out there with the intention of trying to win the game, betrayal and anger and frustration and disgust are some of the emotions that rise really quickly.
And has it caused you to be more vigilant around your program, whether it's all this stuff, transfer portal, these kinds of things, everything happening? Does it cause you to sort of close ranks or be more vigilant about everything happening?
I think we're always vigilant. Our administration does an unbelievable job. Our compliance department does an unbelievable job in every facet, trying to provide the best experience we possibly can, trying to educate everybody on the issues and the problems that can arise from poor decision making on and off the floor. So I think that doesn't change, and I think it'll be something we continue to emphasize. But there's never been a time that we haven't been vigilant about the guys that are in this program, trying to give them, every piece of information and every resource available to make their experience here the best it can be on and off the court.
We'll let you get to practice. Good luck down the stretch here. Thanks for coming on, Andy.
Anytime. Thanks, guys. Hope to talk to you soon.